Well, good evening and welcome to our July huddle. We are extremely excited to be on in this room with you because we have passed an exciting benchmark and we're very excited to share that with you. So this is our agenda for the evening. We're going to talk about our booklet turn-in and our celebration, and we're going to talk about the impact that the Fair Districts volunteers had and the next phase of the campaign, which is going to be all about talking about the importance of the amendment and how to pass the amendment. So we thought we'd go over some messaging with you and how to talk about the amendment and kind of get out in front of the discussion. And that's it. So yay. We did it. We did it. We did it. We turned in all of those booklets. We're going to have some other times where we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate being officially put on the ballot. We're going to celebrate winning in November, but this is our first big win, and we're excited about it. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, CJ Wilson, who's going to talk to you about what happened last Monday.
All right. Thanks, Mia. So yeah, last Monday was a very exciting day for us. We had the turn-in and the celebration rally. So the pictures you see here were at the Secretary of State's office where we got, I believe it was 4 U-Hauls full of petition signature boxes. Front to back filled all the way, which is, yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing. All of your hard work went towards all of that, all those signatures going in and getting on the ballot in November. um, I'm sure a lot of you I'm sure a lot of you could see yourselves in those pictures. So we have our volunteers helping to stack them and organize them. um, and yeah, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of physical work. um you can see in the bottom right there, Mia, taking charge, being being on top of everything, getting everyone together. And yeah, the turn-in went really smoothly. You can see this is a great visualization of the amount of just the sheer amount of boxes. Those are all full of signatures, or signature books. And yeah, that's 700, and maybe not all of them, but 731,000 signature books or signatures, all right in front of you. And then we had the rally over at the atrium of the State House, which was amazing. Such a great turnout. Yeah, I love this picture too. It was amazing. Um, all seeing all the folks all in one room, celebrating all their hard work. It was amazing. Um, yeah. We
Shout out in the chat if you see yourself in there.
Oh yeah, do a quick shout out if you can see yourself in this picture.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great turnout. It was such a great event. Everyone was just feeling the energy in that room was amazing. Like seeing the fruits of everyone's labor, all of their hard work paying off and coming in and culminating in this one event was amazing. It was also great, seeing that one on the right is a great shot. But seeing all the different kinds of people from all over Ohio coming together, um, all ages, all backgrounds, everything. It was great to see.
So fun. And there are so many nice pictures. More pictures. Yay. Um, Ruth Ann. So many great pictures. Thank you, CJ, for picking them out. And we could just do this for the whole hour because it's so much fun. Um,
Yeah. And this is a couple of folks marching at the A July 4th parade in on behalf of fair districts and ending gerrymandering. So that's kind of indicative of what we'll be doing next, getting the word out, making sure people know that we're going to end gerrymandering in November and that they should vote to get power back in their hands rather than the hands of politicians. So
Awesome. I really appreciate that. Now, Evelyn, I think we have been trying to get out on social media, but I would definitely encourage all of you to do this as well. Just post in, on Facebook, on, wherever you post stuff. And we will be sure in our follow-up that we'll send tomorrow to send these links that Tiffany has put there to some of the albums where we have a lot of these pictures. So you all should feel free to go ahead and share whichever ones you want. So the next thing I wanted to do is introduce Andrew Green. Some of you know him, many of you know him, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the impact of the Fair District's signatures on this whole collection, and just some interesting information about those signatures that we turned in. So Andrew.
Everyone, good to be here and share some data. So this is just a map showing kind of, what percentage of the 2022 gubernatorial vote we got in each county, which is kind of the basis for whether or not we make the ballot. So in addition to need 10% statewide, we need to hit 5% in at least 44 counties. So all the counties in green are showing the 60 counties where we turned in at least 5%, darker shades of green showing a higher percentage. And then everything in yellow is showing where we didn't quite meet that 5% number. So in all, we turned in 18% or just over 18% of the gubernatorial vote. We had to 10% of that to be valid to make the ballot. We need 44 counties. We've turned in 60. And I say we need 44. We turned in 60. So looking pretty promising with those numbers there. And
So
if you want to go to the
number
next slide.
Well, that just to, so even
Yes.
though we turned in 60, if some of those turn out not to be valid for whatever reason, we won't necessarily hit 60. We could hit less than 60, but we're hoping still more than 44. Is that correct?
Yep. And
Yeah.
I was going to touch on that on the next slide.
Okay.
So
Here you go. Sorry.
So this is a comparison to last year's reproductive rights issue in terms of the number of signatures collected in the various counties. Both issues hit or said they turned in and met the requirement in 60 counties. Last year's issue after validation met in 55 counties. Looking at the numbers this year, the 60 that we hit the 5% in are significantly more over 5% than last year's issue was. So I would expect, which, it's not necessarily going to be exactly the same validation rate and all of that, but if we see a similar validation rate, we should probably only lose one of the counties, maybe two. So I would guess to see 58 or 59 counties where we did hit that 5% threshold.
Awesome. And if you guys want to, you can put in the chat if you collected signatures in any of these counties that hit the threshold, or if you collected signatures in a county that was, maybe close. Because I'm sure we have on the call tonight people representing a lot of these different counties. Oh, and by the way, feel free to
I will
put
say
questions in the Q&A. Sorry, go ahead.
one county, Logan County, we reached 5% by, like, remembering correctly, 2 or 3 signatures. So obviously that one's going to drop off. But we did turn in a number that is over 5% by just a couple. So if you collected more than 2 signatures in Logan County, you put us over.
Awesome.
Well, and Andrew, I threw in a thank you, and I did want to say it out loud. Just, this time last year, we were working, to defeat issue 1 of the August special election, which would have meant that we'd have to have 5% of the gubernatorial vote in all 88 counties. would have completely kind of diluted grassroots power and might have made it so that we would not functionally have had the right. It might be in the Ohio Constitution, but not have the right. So I just wanted to say a thank you and do a call back to the special election last year.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And
it looks like on paper that we're going to qualify, no problem. But had that gone into effect, there's no question that we wouldn't be qualifying with the numbers that we have today. So very
tell us
important.
about this slide.
So this is the fair districts impact. So if we look at just what our fair districts volunteers collected, we collected about 25% of them statewide. And that amounts to over 180,000 signatures. We say plus because at the end, there was kind of a rush to get things turned in and not everything got tracked as it was, from December to say the end of May. So it's definitely higher than that 180,000. And what Fair District did, we met the 5% requirement in 11 counties all on our own, obviously before validation. But you can see those listed out here. Cuyahoga County was our top one at 13% of the gubernatorial vote. So far and away, kind of the biggest one for fair districts, and a number of others that certainly hold their weight listed here.
All right. And feel free to give yourself a shout out if you collected in those counties.
So I also took a look at, what would we be looking at if we didn't have fair districts volunteers collecting? Take out all of the signatures we collected. What would citizens, not politicians, have turned in? We would have meet the 5% requirement in 3 fewer counties, namely Ottawa, Huron, and Logan. And then it would also bring 4 others down really close to 5% that would probably drop off after validation, and those being Ross, Adams, Geauga, and Athens. So we would dip from, what I expect to be 58, 59 counties to, close to 50. And, we do know that typically volunteer signatures have higher validation rates. And if validation rates were low enough, and if a select handful of counties where that 5% is a relatively small number, it could take a couple other counties with it. So we would have been teetering real close to that 44, that minimum of 44 that we need to make the ballot.
Well, I think what Andrew is saying is, yay, congratulations, you guys are awesome. And I think it's really impressive. Yes, we collected a lot of signatures in Cuyahoga and Hamilton and Franklin, but it's really pretty impressive, the spread, that we collected signatures in 88 counties. That's really impressive. I really find that pretty amazing and admirable.
And I don't know about you, Mia, but this whole time, while as someone as Mia could as well, like see the actual numbers that were coming into the campaign, and we're not allowed to say anything, and all we can say is, hey, we're doing great, and it's like, like how much of that is like, are they blowing smoke? Like they're just making us feel good. And it's like the whole time we're like, no, I'm telling you, we're doing so good. We're doing so good. It's like, it hurt me. I don't know about me, but it hurt like not to like share like all these great details, like as they were happening, and like the numbers, like, like the, I mean, seriously, these are like record numbers in Ohio, and everyone should be very proud of themselves. And again, I wanted to shout out to folks who collected for in honor of Allison Ricker and Huron at our event. Like that's one of them that would not have made it without our efforts. So I want to like thank you all again for showing up and showing out in Huron and everywhere else. Like everyone is amazing. Like and again, it was like it was so hard to bite my tongue and not spill the beans.
Well, we appreciate you all, and this is, so, oh, sorry, Andrew, you have one more slide here. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a map showing where Fair District's volunteers punched above their weight, as I call it. So statewide, we collected just over 24% of the total signatures. These are the counties where we collected more than that. So the darker orange is showing where we, did more. So of all the signatures turned in from Auglaize County, 80% of them are from Fair District's volunteers on down the list there. I didn't list all the counties. Those are just the top, however many that are over 40%. So, if you turned in signatures from these counties, know that you were part of the Fair District's team that kind of helped carry them.
That is so great. I love this. And we will send these slides out, and we'll send a recording, and we'll send, links and everything. So this is really impressive. We all love to thank you and praise you, but it's very, very heartfelt. We think we're a great team. So thank you guys. So what is going to happen next? Well, this is actually happening pretty quickly. We got those boxes in, they went up, into the elevator and up into the room, and they were sorted out. Andrew actually was there helping sort them out into the 88 counties. And then the Secretary of State sent them to the boards of elections, and he issued a directive saying that the signatures had to be validated by July 18th, which is the end of next week, which is pretty amazing. And then the Secretary of State will make a final determination on July 23rd as to whether or not we collected enough valid signatures to qualify for the ballot, which we hope that we will. If we don't, for some reason, we could have a cure period of 10 days to collect more signatures, but we hope that won't be necessary. If we are given approval on the 23rd, then the ballot language actually will be set by the ballot board, and that will be has to be finished by August 22nd. So that is happening very quickly. We will know for sure, within a couple of weeks, and then we'll have ballot language. And so then we move into the next phase of the campaign. And so, goal number 1 was get the signatures. Goal number 2 is spread the word. And this is so important because yes, 731,000 Ohioans signed the petition, but we need 10 million Ohioans to vote yes. And we need to make sure that they know to vote yes, regardless of what the ballot language is, because we all know that the ballot language is another opportunity for folks to try to trip us up and to put in language which is purposefully confusing and doesn't really express the purpose of the amendment. So we need folks to know that they're voting yes on issue, we assume issue 1, we'll find out 23rd of July. We need them to know that, and we need them to understand why. And so that's our job now, between now and November 5th, is to make sure that folks know about the amendment, and they know to vote yes, and they know why, and they feel filled with passion about it. And so for the rest of this evening, we're going to be talking about what you can do to help make sure that we get that knowledge spread out, and that we're all able to talk about this in a way that's simple and straightforward and short and direct and gets folks motivated. So, we'll talk about this more in the coming months, but these are just a general list of things that you can do to help spread the word about the amendment. You can join the Speakers Bureau, or you can find places for our already trained speakers to present. And it doesn't have to be a big fancy thing. It can be your group of friends in your neighborhood, or your workplace, or your book club, or whatever it is. You can wear, I don't have this on the list, but honestly, wearing your shirt around, wearing a banned gerrymandering shirt, Citizens Not Politicians, that's a great idea. That's a conversation starter. If everyone who is a Fair District's volunteer was wearing shirts around, I think that would be spreading a lot of awareness about this amendment. Obviously, we will eventually have yard signs once we have an issue number and other ways to kind of just raise awareness about the amendment. handing out flyers, tabling at community events, distributing lit and commit to vote cards. We will have that lit for you in the coming weeks. We'll be able to get that out to you. So finding places where you want to be, very important. Endorsements, whether it's your small local businesses or companies or local chambers. There are a lot of different places that, ways to go out and find endorsements for the campaign. Writing letters to the editor, sharing messages on social media, making connections at campus, helping to plan educational events. So there's lots of ways to spread the word about this amendment. And this is something we're going to work on. Yes, we will be going door to door. So there will be, there will be groups that will be organizing canvases. The Citizens Not Politicians campaign itself will be organizing canvases. If folks want shirts, I'm going to put a link. If you were working with a local group and you were collecting signatures, check with your local leader and see if they have any shirts, or they can order shirts from me. Otherwise, you can order them directly from the vendor and we will send a link to that. But if you were, let's say, collecting signatures in Akron, you would actually connect with Andrew, who was a regional leader in Akron, and he will have a way to get a shirt to you. So this is a general overall, I'm sure there's 10 more ways that you can work to pass the amendment. This is just a few of them. So find something that works for you. And we're going to give you a link to sign up to volunteer a little bit later. But of course, the most important thing is going to be talking about the amendment and making sure that people understand it and know to vote yes, and that we get our messages in people's heads before they are filled with a bunch of nonsense from the folks that are defending the status quo, because of course they're defending this. Of course they're defending the status quo. They benefit from it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth, who is going to talk to us about how do we talk about this amendment in a simple and straightforward way that will help us make sure that it passes. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mia. So I am biased because I am a comms person, but truly Mia is right. I really, really think that one of the most important things that we can do here is just educate voters about what this is all about. Just like, what are we doing here? Why are all these people so crazy about this? Because when voters can connect with what this amendment is for and why it's so needed, they get it. And so some of you have heard me say this, and you will hear me say all of these things probably many more times in the next few months. But that's how we learn. We have to hear things. Just our human brains need to sort of be exposed to things again and again and again, so it really gets in there. So we're really focusing on our messaging goals here. So that's what we start with. Our goals are identify the problem, it's gerrymandering, identify the solution, which absolutely is passing the Citizens Not Politicians amendment, and then share what the amendment will do, but keep it simple. And then you repeat and you repeat and you repeat. You will get really sick of saying it. I know, and you will want to riff. Honestly, keep it simple. Keep saying the same things again and again and again. This amendment is extremely thorough. As y'all know, there's many pages because it makes specific rules and guidelines to make it bulletproof. But you don't have to be an expert in all of it or know, the answer to every wonky question that you might have. And honestly, even if you do have the answers and you do know all the details, keep it to yourself unless there's really a reason to talk about them and you know that your audience is interested in them. It's just really important that you focus on the top line messaging, sort of saying the most essential parts of this is the way that you communicate the most. So you start with the problem. which is, again, gerrymandering. So, and I'm just going to run through these pretty quickly because I know y'all know this. Gerrymandering districts lets representative picks their voters instead of voters picking their representatives. Gerrymandering means politicians can't be held accountable even when they go against the will of the people. Gerrymandering lowers voter participation. Voters lose faith in the system when they feel like their vote doesn't matter and they stop voting. And gerrymandering steals voter power. Rigged districts dilute the power of groups and individuals who oppose the party and politicians in power. And then we can go to the next slide. So after we've identified the problem for people, we go to the solution. And this is what we are going to keep coming back to. Citizens, not politicians, takes politicians and lobbyists out of the redistricting process. And it's super easy because it's literally the name of the amendment. Citizens, not politicians. And that's something you're going to be saying a lot. Career politicians will finally have competition, giving voters real choices. Competition gives politicians incentive to do their job and listen to us. Competitive districts mean Ohio voters decide who represents them, not politicians and lobbyists. And citizens, not politicians, restores the power to us. Voting yes puts citizens, not career politicians, in charge. And we can go to the next slide. So here's what the amendment would do. It creates a 15-member Ohio Citizens Redistricting Commission. The commission is made up of equal numbers of Democratic, Republican, and independent citizens who broadly represent the different geographic areas and demographics of the state. The law makes it unconstitutional to manipulate voting districts to favor or discriminate against any political party or individual politician. The amendment includes checks and balances to make sure that transparency and public accountability are there. The commission is required to operate under an open and independent process. The law was written to safeguard our right to representative government for the people and by the people. And we keep coming back to that. Problem, solution, what the amendment would do. So what's the problem? Gerrymandering. What's the solution? Passing the Citizens Not Politicians Amendment this fall. What would the amendment do? Creates a 15-member Citizens Redistricting Commission with 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independent or unaffiliated Ohio citizens that makes manipulating districts that advantage or disadvantage individuals or groups unconstitutional. The Citizens Not Politicians Amendment creates an independent redistricting process led by Ohio voters, banning politicians and lobbyists. Sensing a theme here? Empowers citizens, not politicians, to draw fair districts and set clear rules to ensure maps are drawn in an open and transparent way. Restores power to the people so voters can hold politicians accountable. And again, keep it simple. The opposition is going to say that the amendment is too complicated and our, tiny little voter brains cannot understand this. We need to trust voters and we need to give them information they need in an accessible way without resorting to, quoting section 3C1 or like gesturing and like using imaginary flowcharts in the air, though I do love a flowchart. So it's just about keeping it simple. Remember the 3 goals and what you're trying to communicate: the problem, the solution, and how the amendment would work. So that's pretty much it. And then the next slide is just some resources that we want to share. I don't know if any of y'all have seen it. The campaign yesterday debuted a new explainer video that is pretty helpful. So it's a little over a minute long, and it goes through pretty quickly. Hey, feel like your politicians aren't listening to you? Well, here's why. So I think it's a super useful way to think about it for yourself, like when you're thinking about how you want to communicate it, but also share it in your in whatever platforms you have for communicating. So your social media, anything that can spread that message wider. On the Fair Districts Ohio website, there is a amendment FAQ that is a compilation of the questions that we have heard most often. And it is super, super helpful. I refer to it all the time. I think it's a really useful thing. We also have a communications toolkit on the website, and that has things like, does have the FAQs, it has some graphics you can use, it has kind of a basic template for writing a letter to the editor. It has some information about the Speakers Bureau, which the Speakers Bureau, even if you are like, never, ever, ever am I getting up in front of a room full of people and talking about anything, the speakers training is really useful because it gives you kind of a framework for how to talk about this, how to kind of walk that line between keeping things high level and focusing on that top messaging, and also being substantive, so you're not just, you know, a commercial, that you are able to answer and address the sort of natural questions that people are going to have about this amendment. So think about attending the speakers training, even if you are not personally going to do any presentations. And I think that's it. So happy to answer any questions in the chat. And I will put my email in the chat as well. So y'all are very welcome to reach out to me anytime and we can talk more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That's fantastic. I am going to play that video for us in a second. Angela asked about how the commission is chosen, and that is a question that is asked a lot. And I just wanted to let folks know that, yes, that's in our FAQs. And also we have some additional slides, which we are including. They come at the end of this presentation, and we're not going to go through them all, but they do explain in detail how the commission is selected. And so, Angela, if you get our follow-up email tomorrow, you can look at the slides and you can look at those. It's a multi-step process, and each step of the process is designed to be incredibly fair, to make sure that it's cannot be controlled by one party alone, and that there are guardrails in place to make sure that it's fair. I'm going to just play this video for us, just so you can see the first little video that was put out by the campaign. So here we go. Here's a minute-long video.
Feel like politicians are ignoring you? It's because they are. Corrupt career politicians in Ohio have rigged the system to draw their own voting district and pick their voters, basically guaranteeing they'll never lose. So yeah, politicians are ignoring us. They can stay in office forever thanks to their gerrymandered voting districts. No wonder Ohio is one of the 10 most gerrymandered states in America. But what if we change that? This year, a broad coalition of Ohio Republicans, Independents, and Democrats are all voting yes on the Citizens, Not Politicians Amendment. This amendment will ban politicians and lobbyists from drawing maps and restore power to where it belongs, with citizens. It will create an independent process led by Ohioans to draw new voting maps in an open and transparent way, because it's time we put citizens, not career politicians, in charge. With the Citizens, Not Politicians Amendment, we'll restore power to where it belongs, with Ohio's citizens. Politicians can't ignore that. Join us at citizensnotpoliticians.org.
All right. Let me get back here before this starts to play some other thing. All right. I knew it was going to do that. Hold on one second. All right. Going to get me to the right slide. So yes, this is something that you can share, which is great. And yes, that's where we are. Thank you. So we have just one more slide for you tonight, with a few more links. So a lot of folks on here were collecting signatures. That's great. But as we mentioned, there are more ways to get involved. If you didn't collect signatures and you didn't sign up yet, and you want to volunteer now, you can go ahead and click on this link. Tiffany can drop it in the chat, and you can sign up to volunteer. If you've already signed up, you don't need to. It's the same sign up. But if you haven't signed up yet, there's a great way to get involved. You can follow us on social media. You can request a speaker. You can take a look at the toolkit, and our next huddle is on August 14th, excuse me. So that was really what we wanted to go over this evening. We need to spread the word about the amendment. Even if you only said gerrymandering is cheating and it's politicians keeping themselves in power, we got to stop that. You know, don't, as Elizabeth said, keep it simple, keep to the basics, but make sure that we are spreading the word. Do we have any final comments or questions in the chat? And yes, you will get all of these links and things tomorrow.
Bill, I would love to talk to you about that later. It's a little complicated and I don't want to take everybody else's time with it. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's being managed, but it probably would take more time than people want to hear about right now.
I mean,
Well, I do think we can say this. It has always been illegal to have foreign money in ballot campaigns. What has changed has to do with green card contributions, contributions from people who are living here. They may even be intending to become US citizens. So sometimes they're members of organizations. And so we just need to be sure that any money that we spend on citizens, not politicians, is coming from American citizens. So it's just a slightly different change, and a little bit of a hassle for membership organizations. But what's important is, you know, that we come together, do our thing, and not worry too much about it, but encourage, you know, absolutely encourage folks to support the campaign, because we do need, sadly, so much money to get the word out. So much money. So this is the fun part of campaigns, but it's also like you're going to get some fundraising kind of calls, so don't be surprised.
We are happy to answer, you know, questions that people have. There is a question about Maureen O'Connor's schedule. We can certainly get that for you. I don't know if anybody on the call knows when she's going to be in Dayton. We can put you in touch. Rebecca, I'm going to give you my email here. I'm going to pop that in the chat, and just email me so I don't forget, and we will find out when she's going to be in Dayton for you.
It's August 20th. She's at the
August 20th. Awesome. Very good. Yes. So, Andrew, I see, is typing out the answer to the question as wasn't the ballot language approved. It isn't. What is approved before we start is the summary of the amendment. That goes through a process of being approved. But then afterwards, there's this slightly bizarre thing where after you've done all of this and you've collected all the signatures, a totally separate group of people who don't necessarily have the best interests of the amendment at heart get to write the language. So, and you know, last year, you may remember for the abortion, for the reproductive rights amendment, the language was pretty contentious and there was a lawsuit about it. And after that, the language was very slightly modified, but it's you know, it's an issue that we have to deal with. Certainly, because James, the answer about contributing to the campaign, you can certainly contribute to citizensnotpoliticians.org. We're kind of in the process of sorting out all of that. So we will make sure to update you about that a little bit later. Postcards to voters. I'm sure that there will be many groups, some of them independent, not coordinating with the campaign. Some of them will be writing cards to support the amendment, I feel sure. And we will make sure to let you know as soon as we have information about any of that. And we are going to be doing rallies and press events across the state for sure, all across the state, to make sure that we get in local media, and that people all across the state know about the amendment, and have an opportunity to ask questions, etc. Yeah. Any other questions or things coming up in the chat? I think that, Angela, if you are, let's say you're canvassing for a candidate, you absolutely can mention this amendment. There's absolutely no barriers to that. If you, for the groups that are, for the people who are canvassing specifically for the campaign, they are going to make sure that they are not promoting any candidates, because of course this is a nonpartisan amendment. It's not for any particular party or candidate. So it's like, if you're doing this for citizens, not politicians, then that's what you're going to do. If you're working for any other candidate anywhere on the political spectrum of any party, you can feel free to mention issues as well. Catherine, Elizabeth, Trevor, CJ, Tiffany, Andrew, any last comments?
Well, I was really glad that we had an opportunity to think about how do we talk about this, because there is a slight difference between how we talk about it as we're collecting signatures and, how we're talking about it going forward. And just reminding us, also a big thank you to Elizabeth. The other thing is, we have a couple people on this, and I know it used to be we did these as meetings, but then we had those Zoom bombings, so we've been doing it as a webinar since then. But we have a couple of the folks who were up on stage on July 1st who are with us today, and I just, I wanted to say hello to Annette, and also Annette Sutherland and Mike Ahern, and just say a big thank you. I just think it was incredibly moving and exciting to be there, and I just wanted to say thank you. It was also moving to see my friend Andrew move boxes and Mia move boxes. So once again, I hope that I see you all very soon in person.
Yes. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. And we will send you a follow-up tomorrow.
A big thank you to everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.